Oh, you're not going to work on your pasta papillon while we're, you don't have to.
Good morning. I was
Morning.
putting it down to take off my mask.
I thought I hit record and the project went down and I was like, hello and welcome to the Sun Dragon Sideshow.
The Dear Becky and Lizzie edition.
I still haven't put, I haven't put my name tag on, but neither of you, so I'm okay with that. Okay.
Yeah.
You all can't read it from over there anyway, so it's okay if we don't have them on for this. Hi, I'm Rebecca, aka for Thursdays Becky. I used to be Becky all the time and don't answer to it as much anymore, but I'm Rebecca. I'm the owner of Sun Dragon Art and Fiber in overcast and probably going to rain today, Brevard, North Carolina.
I'm Liz, or Lizzie for today, the minion there.
Okay. I'm like, I don't know why I'm not talking because yeah, I think we're done. All right, with that. So, hello. How is everyone doing today? Liz is working on her Impasa Papillon, which just looks like a triangle shawl from far away, but it does have intricacies all in the same color. And this was on my morning meditation. Since you have yours, I will show off mine. The oranges are showing up now. Da-da-da.
She's further than I am, so it's a competition now.
I'm working on it for my class. If Liz wants to get all personal about it,
whatever.
That's her fault.
That's not how the text message came across last night.
I was
like,
poking fun at you. That's why the text message came across last night.
So it's a competition. Well, duh.
Well, duh. When I'm winning. No, it's all right. It's I'm just trying to make enough progress on this. I did 4 sections. I don't know if it was all last night where you have to carry the yarn up the side. And this first time I was, because I'm trying your version, which is not slipping stitches on the edges and doing a backwards loop for the make one.
Yeah.
Speaking of, and figuring out which way to twist, like where to hide the yarn. I do it after the make one right now.
Yeah, that's where I do it.
Yeah. And because I think I remember you saying that. I don't think I came up with that on my own. But down here, I was doing it, the way I was twisting it was not hiding as well. And somehow, even though I swear I did it every row, I think I missed some. So this first section where I tried to hide it back behind looks a little foobar, and it's looking cleaner as I go because I'm getting into a rhythm because I haven't done that in a while. But I think I got through most, if not all, of the crazy side pieces in section 1.
I am so looking forward to my Impasa Papillon because when I get to the other side, I don't have to carry color.
Oh, that's true. I was like, what, you're just gonna fudge stuff? No, she doesn't.
No,
it's all one color, so she doesn't have to carry any yarn. But it is pretty when you do it. And like there's some spots over here where you can kind of see the purple through, but that's where my I don't care bar sinks to the floor because ain't nobody got time for that. So
yeah.
Anyway, all right. So on Thursdays we answer questions from y'all if we have them, and we have one, which was intriguing because it's something I had to look up.
I looked it up as well, but I had heard about it before.
Yes, you had. I hadn't, but I mean, looking at it, it's like, okay, let's read the question and talk about it.
Okay, let me find the question.
Someone's not ready.
Someone's never ready.
But I was late today, so I'm this pot kettle. If I'm gonna be like, oh, it's like I had to go to Ingles today, and oh my gosh, my phone. So I film morning meditation on this. I'm also vamping, so you can find your things. But I film morning meditation on this, and this morning, like the cat was in the way, all kinds of stuff. I filmed like the orange bubble I was doing, but then I wanted to film the side stuff, so I was knitting over to the side. And I get to the side and I'm doing it and I look at my camera and it's the phone, it's not filming anymore. And I was like, I know I pushed record. Did I lose all of that? And when I went to check my photos, nothing was showing up. So I went and tried to film again and I pushed record and I started going and I look up and it's not recording. It got stuck in this, hang on, I'm about to sneeze.
Bless you.
Into my sleeve as much as I could. Contortioning. It turns out it was stuck in some kind of glitch where it would film for about 13 seconds and stop. And I had to reboot my phone. I tried like closing the app, like swiping up on the app and reboot and reopening, and it kept doing it. I've had times when it's done weird stuff before too. I ended up having to reboot my phone, like restart it. Hard restart. Honestly, I don't know when I last did that. So it's a computer and I didn't restart it in a while. So I was late leaving the house. Long story long, I was late leaving the house. So I can't judge her if she's not ready because I wasn't ready when I left the house this morning.
The someone and someone is never ready is plural for our case.
Okay, what you got?
Dear Becky and Lizzie, can you talk about the crochet bind off? How is it done? Why choose it over a knit one pass bind off over that is so common in patterns? Is it similar to one of the stretchy bind offs all bound up?
Okay, and looking it up, it is exactly the same as a knit one, pass the slip, pass knit two, and then pass the stitch over, knit one more, pass the stitch over. It's exactly the same as a traditional bind off from my grasping of it. It's just done with a crochet hook instead of knitting needles. And some people swear that by it because it's easier for them. If you're used to using a crochet hook, I would say yes, it's probably just smoother and easier. It is, but in my understanding of it is in no way a stretchy bind off. It's just for some an easier way to do a traditional bind off.
I will tell you what I found. I found a Yarn Harlot.
I'm gonna get stuff to show
from
kind of
2006. I think it was 2006. Anyway, Yarn Harlot said it's great. She likes it if you don't need a stretchy bind off. So not on socks, not on sweater sleeves.
So for the person saying, is it like a stretchy? It's like, no, it's good if you don't, you like, it's the opposite kind of.
And the reason she likes it is because you can run until you're completely out of yarn. And then you just crochet the loops one at a time together. You don't have to like knit one and then pass it over.
Okay, the one I found by using the crochet hook, you're replicating a knit stitch.
She just pulled the.
Okay, that's if you want a tight bind off.
It's a tight bind
That's
off.
not what I found when I looked it up. So there's different things being called a crochet bind off. So the Yarn Harlot would just take this and not be knitting and just pull things through. Okay, again, that's not what I found. But that is one way to interpret this.
Yeah, she did specify that things that need any given stretch, she would not do it. But like if you're doing a washcloth, you could run until you go out of yarn and not need any extra yarn.
Extra yarn. Again, what I found is different. So when you Google search it, obviously, and I only looked at the first couple of things, you're gonna find different stuff. What I often recommend, if you want a looser bind, not super tight bind off, and not to try a different bind off, to just go up a needle size or two. And you can do the same thing with a crochet hook. So I'm grabbing out just any crochet hook. What I saw, like, again, you all are going to watch this from the backside and it's going to be teeny tiny and not show up. But to bind off, usually you can start with knitting 2 stitches and you pull one over the other. And then you knit another one and you pull the one that's further from the needle tip over the one closer to the needle tip on your right needle. This takes the right needle out and replaces it with a crochet hook. Again, is the one I found. And so this needle's out of it. I've got my crochet hook held in my right hand like you would normally do with a crochet hook. And if you were starting this, you would just pull a loop through, one loop on here, but say I've already started, go into your next stitch, loop over with the crochet hook, pull it through, and then pull that one through the one on your hook, is replicating the exact same thing. So go in. If you crochet, you might like default to wrapping around your crochet hook in a different direction. And honestly, I think it's still going to be fine on a bind off to do this, but it's going into the next loop, pulling up a loop and pulling that loop through the one you have on your hook. I mean, honestly, like, I think it's 6 of one, half a dozen of the other, but because of the hook on the crochet hook, there's a little, it might be a little easier to, instead of lifting one over the other, you're just pulling through and then pulling through, going in, pulling through, pulling through. So I can see how for some people they'd be like, this is awesome and it takes less time. But for me, the logistics of it are exactly, and I'm going the crochet way,
Yeah.
but honestly, on a bind off, I think it's going to be fine. Go in, yarn over and pull up a loop that you can take the loop off your knitting needle and then pull one through the other. But it's replicating the exact same thing that's going to happen with the traditional bind off. The other thing I noticed on this website that I looked at, and if I can, I'll put my link in, and if Liz will send me the Yarn Harlot thing, I'll try to put the Yarn Harlot thing in, is if it was in pattern, you can still do that with the crochet hook in pattern. You can go in knitwise into a stitch or move the yarn to the front and go in purlwise into a stitch. It might be a little harder to duck something. I'm going to try it right now. Yeah, it's a little bit wonkier to try to pull a crochet hook back through. It's not the traditional feeling of using a crochet hook, but you could bind off even in pattern, in ribbing, if there were a variety of knits and purls. And the same thing, the way I advise people, if you wanted a little, and most of us do, if you wanted a looser bind off that's not super tight, use a bigger needle to bind off. You could use a bigger hook to bind off, like 1 or 2 sizes up from the needle size, millimeter wise, and achieve the same result. So I think the reason some people suggest it is just motion wise, it may be simpler. And if you have trouble pulling one loop over the other with your knitting needle, it may be an easier thing to do. But I would advise, if you're not a crocheter, what I found, like with the provisional cast on that uses a crochet hook, is if someone's not familiar with a crochet hook, it's awkward. And so the same thing is, this might be more convenient and easier for some people, but if it's your first experience with a crochet hook, it may be fairly awkward. And so the same level of awkwardness as using your needles to pull stitches over stitches. So
the several times I've looked at crocheting, it never made another knit stitch. It just pulled the loops through the loops.
Okay,
so
well then somehow
somebody,
my Google search pulled up something completely different from Liz.
It could have been in the several years since I looked at it. Because Yarn Harlots is an older,
because we're just pulling loops through loops. You can do that with your knitting needles too, and I don't recommend that because it's tight. It's
going to be tight.
It's because there's no give of when, if you're knitting as you go or pulling loops through the crochet hook as you go, you have some control over, like you have some control over the loops.
Yeah.
If they're already established on your needle and you're just pulling them through, that can get tight as you go. So
I do a crochet bind off, but it's completely, I create crochet on the end and keeping it loose, and like there's always holes, there's always eyelets when I crochet straight off the needle and transition into crochet. But I don't think I'd do a crochet bind off like where I'd use a hook, because I like a stretchier fabric at the end.
I'm looking at the Yarn Harlot thing you sent me, because you sent me that and I was like, yeah, this is what I found. It's different than what I found. So and I would be concerned about things falling off the as I transition them, but I think it would be fine. So, but yeah, again, the link I sent her, there's different varieties of it. But like I said, I'll try to put both links if possible into the description for this. I think anytime you're doing a bind off without extra yarn, you run the risk of it being very tight. So again, to address the person's question of like, is this like a stretchy bind off? Is that what? No, I mean, there might be a way to replicate that the knit two together through the back loop. You might be able to replicate with a crochet hook as well, but I don't see that being any easier than doing it with needles.
No.
So yeah, you look like you were about to say something before.
No.
Okay. I talk a lot, so I try to notice when I'm railroading her, and y'all might notice I don't catch it a lot. So you know,
I've got
at least I'm
to even.
at least at least I'm kind of aware of it. I'm sure there's people who aren't even aware and just blah, 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 and I say blah, blah, blah. Sorry. It's okay. Oh, I've got my breakfast here and I still haven't eaten it. That's okay.
I'm gonna go find cookies in a bit.
No, I feel like all of these, no matter which way I wrap the yarn on this, like knitwise or purlwise on the crochet hook, they look relatively the same. And I think some of that is because I'm not knitting another row. It's okay if it's not twisting the right, sitting the same way, because it's not actually sitting on the needle. So anyway, that was an intriguing question though, because I got to look up stuff that I hadn't found before or I hadn't experienced before. And now I'm intrigued. I don't think I'm going to use a crochet hook for my next regular bind off, but I could, you know.
If you're doing like where you don't want to pull the other needle around, it's almost the same as using a double point needle to bind off. Like when it's on a circular needle, if you didn't, you know, if it was long and you didn't want to pull all of your work and have it all sitting all in one spot, you could use your crochet hook to bind off like I do with a double point. Yeah.
It's just the difference is instead of having to use both needles and manipulate. Yeah.
Yeah.
Anytime you're binding off with a bigger needle, you're not using the needle that's sitting in the work. So, and a double point definitely has less bulk and pull than another circular you're bringing in. I say use the tools you have at hand.
Yeah.
So if you have a bigger circular needle or a bigger double point or a crochet hook, like if you don't have a bigger, this actually is a nice thing is say you don't have a bigger circular needle near you, but you have a bigger crochet hook. It gives you another option for a loose bind off, not a stretchy, but a loose.
And we have knitters, shout out to Carol, who she picks up stitches with a crochet hook, like, because it's just easier to reach in and pull up a loop. So.
Yeah. Okay. So here's like, I'm scrolling through what my search, because I put crochet cast off knitting, because when I put crochet cast off, the word knitting auto filled. And I was like, oh, that's interesting. And some of it is crochet cast off with a knitting machine. And that one was just different ways to cast off. Bind off, casting off with a crochet hook. And it is a YouTube video. And no, I didn't want sound. Go away. I've got ads. I'm just going to look really fast to see if this person. Yeah. And this person is doing it crochet wise, is doing it the crochet wrap wise, but this person is also yarning over their crochet hook and pulling through. So you still had the link to send me. So it's still there, like the Crochet Harlot link.
I think so.
So
I can find it.
Even if we say things have changed since she looked it up before, or did you just have that picture on your phone?
No, I found like it on Pinterest because
but
I can go get the link.
So yeah, we can find it. It looked like it was, I saw part of an address. But the few things I'm finding, the trend of what pops up at the top of Google searches, which is sometimes because people have paid to put them up that high, sometimes not, is pulling up things that involve using yarn as you go and will replicate what happens with a 2-needle bind off, like regular basic 2-needle bind off. So it's almost time for us to open the shop. I was going to talk about a few more things perhaps. I bound off on an ongoing project, so I'm going to carefully back this out and put it back on my needle, but I was not super stressed about doing that. I know it's pink and up against my skin. Y'all might have seen none of that, but take my word for it. So I'll try to put in some links of what came up at the top of my Google searches, and we'll put in Liz's if we can find it. Excuse me. And see, I don't use Pinterest like at all.
I use Pinterest.
We find different stuff
quite often.
Oh yes, I know, and it's a very valuable resource. I'm just lazy and don't make it that far. So, all right. If you would like us to talk about a question, even if it's one we have to research, then you can either write us a letter at Dear Becky and Lizzie, Sun Dragon Art and Fiber, 35 South Broad Street, Brevard, North Carolina, 28712. Or you can email.
Liz at sundragonartandfiber.com.
And we have sit and stitch tomorrow. That's someone calling just before we open, so we're gonna let them leave a message. But we have a virtual sit and stitch tomorrow from 7 to 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and that's on Zoom, and you can get in with the shop phone number.
828-877-3550.
And then we have in-person sit and stitch on Saturday in the afternoon from 1 to 4 p.m., weather permitting. We will be outside, weather permitting.
It is looking quite nice for this weekend, rain wise.
Maybe a little hot,
but it's gonna be hot.
But and we kind of get a breeze out there. They put up a wind barrier, but it doesn't really work. So we get a little bit of breeze out there still. But the weather permitting thing really is, it's your comfort with different temperature levels. But it is, for us, it's as long as we're not getting soaking wet or there's lightning and thunder out, we will be out there. So. All right, and then we'll see you next Tuesday.
During lightning and thunder.
We have, but we shouldn't do that. I think when there's customers out there, we're like, okay, bye-bye.
Yeah.
Because we are okay. We will take the risk. We will not put you under that risk. It's fine to come in the shop and wait out until there's a chance to run for your car. But yeah, okay. So we're gonna get ready to see what the day brings us, because every day is new and different and we never know. And that's part of the excitement.
It's supposed to be a rainy day today.
Well, we'll see what happens. We'll see how long we can stay outside under the gazebo once it's vacated. There's coffee people in it right now. So anyway, we will see y'all later. Have a good day. If we don't see you until next Tuesday, have a good weekend. And
like, subscribe, ring the bell, all the fun, Patreon, all that stuff.
We're almost to 1,120 subscribers. Yes, and if you want to monetarily support us, you can go to patreon.com/sundragon for a monthly subscription, and after 3 months you get swag from Patreon that we've set up. Every level gets at least like a sticker or something. So if you want one of the cute mugs that I keep showing off on morning meditation, I got mine from Patreon, because if I was going to sell them here with a special logo on them, I'd have to order like 500, and which feels like a billion in this shop because there's no space. See, it's full. Anyway,
even though we're out of yarn,
we are out of the colors people are going to want to come look for. So yes, we are out of yarn. So we have some other options though. We'll see y'all later. Bye-bye.